You know what? I kinda wanna see how many wins I have on certain games. Let me check real quick. Alright, not awful so far. 123 murder mystery wins, that's not bad. Alright, 94 death run wins. What? 5 Skywars wins? That's unacceptable. Alright, never mind, my account stinks. I gotta improve this somehow. Which is what I will be doing today. Today, I'm going to beat every single minigame on the Hive. Now, how am I supposed to do that when I haven't even played some of the games? I have no idea. Here are all the minigames I will be playing in this challenge. I've never played Bed Wars before, so I'm saving that for last. So, it'll be pretty chaotic when it comes time for that. Now, to start out this challenge, we're starting with Block Party, one of my favorite games and probably the game I'm the best at. Right away into this game, I got a color teleporter, which is arguably the best item in the game. An extremely lucky item to get super early into the game, but the luck doesn't end there. Right after finding the first one, I immediately found a second one, which just further boosted my confidence that I was going to be able to win this game easily.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've already won this. Okay.
What's even crazier is that only 2 rounds later, I immediately found a third one.
Oh, we won. We won. Only 3 already? Usually I get so unlucky in these. The first round.
And only a few rounds later, I'd basically guaranteed my win.
Oh, holy cow! This has never happened to me before.
The rest of this game was pretty easy, and I was demolishing the competition. I didn't even have to use a single color teleporter. You can watch the footage, I didn't use a single one. So I think it's pretty safe to say that you all know how this game ends. I had done it. I had won the first minigame of the video. However, this was the easiest one. It only gets harder from here, and you'll see how. I decided to knock out another pretty easy game, Murder Mystery, as it's pretty easy to win, you just have to survive. This game was not very eventful, to be honest. As you can see, I get innocent, and all I have to do is stay away from people and not die, which I do. And another one down, probably the easiest one so far. And this one's embarrassing. For the next game, I decided to play Just Build Solo, which building is my main talent in Minecraft, so I figured I'd do good at it. However, I could not be more wrong. My build was atrocious. These people picked Desert Temple over Mountain. I don't understand why. Just watch and see for yourself. You'll know what I'm talking about. I couldn't finish the build, it was so bad. Could this possibly be my first loss of the video? That'd be so embarrassing. Now, as much as I'm ashamed to say it, out of desperation, I gave every single build a bad rating. I know, that's a cheap thing to do, but I really wanted to get this over with and go on to the more challenging ones. However, would this even work? Some of these were really good. Maybe they would give them better ratings than I did and they would beat mine. And I somehow won. I felt bad giving everyone a bad rating, even though theirs were clearly better than mine. But who cares, this is for the challenge. I won. Next was a fairly simple game, hide and seek. I'm sure you all know how this works already. I decided that I was going to disguise as a block of wool. Why? I don't know, why are you asking me? When we spawned into the map, I realized that I knew this map, and I already knew a good hiding spot, so I immediately went over to it. Wow, that's strange. The Seeker was AFK and the blocks were hitting them. How the tables have turned, huh? After I saw this, I was fairly convinced that this would be an easy win for me. However, I could not be more wrong. Because of the AFK Seeker, a hiding block had been turned into another Seeker, and it seemed like most of the blocks hitting this other Seeker did not notice. Because they didn't have a spot, most of them were quickly caught. One of the Seekers sensed something off about my location, so he went to come over and check and definitely knew where I was. I had died. I was found. But does this mean my game is over? No, it does not. Now that I was a Seeker, if we were able to find all of the blocks, I would still win. So all I had to do was find the 5 remaining blocks left after I killed that one. And look at me doing my part, 1 leaf block down. After a while, we were down to 1 block remaining. However, it was far too late. I had lost my first minigame, and now I have to do this all over again until I win. In the next game of hide and seek, I decided to become an orange crate, because, well, I like the color orange. The round started off fairly normal, like any other hide and seek game. Little did I know, it would be the most nerve-wracking hide and seek game I have ever played. I followed another player onto the small roof, as I thought I could hide behind him. However, I quickly realized that I did not blend in with my surroundings whatsoever. After a little bit, I decided to go look for a new spot after my friend had left me. What did I find? Almost nothing. After a little bit, I found a ton of oranges just sitting around, and obviously I decided to hide with them, albeit it was a little obvious. However, my new spot came with one downside. It seemed to be a major hotspot for seekers. I was so sure that this right here would be my death. However, I somehow survived. I still have no clue how. And just like that, I had one hide and seek. However, this was not even close to the hardest challenge in this video. For the next minigame, I chose Death Run, as it isn't too hard. However, the only hard thing is beating the 18 other players that you're racing against and getting first, so it can be quite hard on certain occasions. However, this game was different. It was very strange to say the least. You'll see it for yourself shortly. I quickly noticed that one of the trappers was AFK, and the other one just skipped to the end of the course. I've never seen that happen before. Alright, we are not going to talk about that boost. You know what? Actually, why don't we just forget this round ever existed? And now, we're in the actual game. Wait. What the heck? I do not look like this. Why do I look like this? Now, this round was even stranger than the one that happened before, that we don't talk about. Either way, both of the Seekers ran towards the end immediately, which I've never seen that happen before. Now, I was one of the front runners of this run the entire time. Could this be the run that I win? The trappers tried to trap me right at the very end, but my reaction time was insane, and I'd gotten first. And there we go, Death Run was finished. Now on to the next minigame. Now on to survival games, which is one of the few that I expected to take a while. And you know what? I was right, and I'm mad that I was right. The first game started off pretty normal. I got some decent loot right away and went right to the enormous castle. Right away, I was challenged by a player who thought that they could take me on. However, they clearly misjudged me. However, the rest of the game didn't go so well, as I was trapped in a cobweb by a player and quickly bowed down. In the second game, I also died quite quickly, so there's no reason to really get into that. In the third game, I thought that I would be able to third-party these two people that were fighting. However, the one ran away, leaving me all alone with the geared player, and I died.
Boombox! Dude, why'd that dude run? Are you joking?
Now, the fourth game was more intense, so we'll go more into this than the other ones. Right in the beginning, I was clearly underestimated by a player, and I decided to quickly take him down. I also found another player who wasn't very looted up, and I again took him down rather quickly. However, right after this, I noticed a player that had actual good gear. This would be my first proper fight. He had a diamond sword compared to my measly iron one. However, I still somehow managed to take him down. However, I couldn't relax for long, as another player came in to clean up the mess that I had made, and along with taking my life. We were standing behind this truck for a while, wondering who would make the first move. However, I decided to make the smart move by running away, as I had already gotten his diamond sword at least. What else could he have to offer aside from some of his armor? In the distance, I noticed an airdrop, which usually consists of some of the best items in the game. This could help me defeat this player. No players in sight. This airdrop was all mine. This airdrop had an iron chestplate and a diamond helmet. I was sure to win this game now. However, I quickly remembered that I had a flare on me, meaning I could get another one. This would guarantee my win. A golden apple, one of the best items in the game. This win is mine. However, the player from earlier had quickly tried to trap me and get a quick easy kill on me. However, I had geared up since then, and now I could take him on easily. And just like that, he's gone. Now it was time for the deathmatch. This was my chance to win, finally. I noticed one of the competitors quickly take down the other one, meaning that it was now a 1v1, me versus this guy. I had lost, despite me having better armor and everything. I was simply not good enough. To calm down a little bit, I decided to try a game I had never played before, Capture the Flag, which, let me tell you, was the biggest mistake of this challenge. After playing multiple rounds of it, I seriously do not understand how people find this fun. It's just watch, my losing streak is so bad in this. Keep in mind while watching this gameplay, I've never played this game before, so don't judge me too much. And there's one loss. And there's another. And hey, would you look at that? Another! And for good measures, here's another one. Oop, almost forgot this one. And after many more rounds, I finally got a win in this game. I seriously don't think that I will ever consider playing this game mode ever again. This was awful. I hated it so much. At least finally I can say, we finally got a win and capture the flag. Boom, another one done. Finally. Now after that, I finally decided to return to survival games. And I accidentally hit duos. Oh no. And yeah, who would have guessed I got demolished by a team. Obviously. Now we're on to solo games, and this game was actually really eventful. And as always, I started out by getting some good early loot, of course, and look at that, a flare, how useful. And now I have a whole bunch of good loot. I was ready for combat. Oh, and would you look at that in the distance, a player coming up to me, wanting to fight. Huh, let's see how well this goes. I made quick work of him. I could already tell that this was a game I was going to get far in. After a lot more looting up, I noticed an airdrop, which obviously would give me some good loot, so I ran towards it. Obviously it wasn't mine, but who cares, I had some good loot. Who would ever dare to fight me? I noticed a player in the distance, on top of the hill. This must have been their crate. However, they were clearly not as geared as I was, so I had no trouble going up and taking the loot. However, they clearly had a problem with this and didn't want this to be the case, which was the biggest mistake of their life. I obviously made quick work of them. Then it was time for the deathmatch against 3 other players. Then I realized, could I win this? The 2 other players began to fight, so I quickly swooped in to try to get both of the kills. Only 1 player was left, and I had the upper hand. Could I win?
Oh, I did it! Finally! Oh my goodness!
I had done it. I had won survival games. Finally, I was done. Now it was time for me to play the bridge, one of my least experienced games. So, let's see how this goes. Because I have no experience playing this game, I have to depend on my teammate to win for me. So, hopefully this goes well. It didn't. I did terrible. You know, this guy looks pretty good. Maybe he can carry me to a win here. No, we still did terrible. I am awful at this game. Third time's the charm. Maybe this teammate can carry me to my win. Nope, my teammate left immediately and the enemy team killed me repeatedly over and over in brutal ways and it hurt my feelings. And after way too many rounds to show, me and my teammate finally won a game. It took way too long and I don't think I'm ever going to play this again. To be honest, at least it wasn't nearly as bad as Capture the Flag. That was terrible. On to next minigame. Sky Wars time. Oh no, this might be brutal. I'll start this off by saying that I actually like Sky Wars a lot, and I play it quite often. However, I am still not good at the game at all. I expected this one to take a while, and oh boy, I was right. Round 1 started off pretty well, and I got some good loot right off the bat. However, when I went to go get some more loot, a player with much better gear than me came up to me and tried to fight me, and I was clearly not ready for combat yet. While trying to escape, I made the stupid decision of enderpearling right to an enemy, which signified my death. Round 2 was even worse, as the second I got off of my island, I was quickly attacked and killed. I feel like I should have survived this, to be honest. The next game was even worse, as I died before I could even leave my island. In the next game, I was looting up. However, a player enderpearled onto the same island as me. They were clearly trying to escape a player trying to kill them. In an act of desperation, I quickly decided to run away from the fight, knowing that it was a fight that I could not win. However, it wasn't very long until the player came back for me, and I quickly fell. And I don't even want to talk about this next game. Here, just watch for yourself. It's embarrassing. In the next game, while watching a fight unfold in front of me, I forgot to check around my surroundings, and I quickly died. So if you're not convinced that I'm awful at Sky Wars already, here's just proof. Yup, this was gonna take a while. In the next game, I decided to queue in for a match of Sky Wars Mega, as maybe my teammates could carry me to a win. Nope, most of my team died very quickly, and after putting up a good fight, I unfortunately met the same fate. The next game was more of the same, and I ended up being the last surviving member on my team. After this clutch, I was really hoping I could pull through and survive. However, this would not be the case. Half a heart. Seriously, that was the perfect ender pearl. After playing for 5 more minutes, I ended up surviving until the very end. However, this does not count as a win, unfortunately. In the next game, I decided to go back to solos, but unfortunately, I couldn't pull off the win, and it didn't seem like I ever would. I desperately needed a break from Sky Wars, so I played some Gravity instead. Gravity was another game that I had very little experience playing, and I thought that this was going to take forever. However, in only my second game, this happened.
I got first! Whoa! I did not expect that at all. I really didn't. I thought this was going to take forever.
I had somehow gotten first, even though I thought I was doing terrible. This is just what I needed after all those Sky Wars games. I then decided to play some Block Drop, another game I had very little experience in. And in my first round, I somehow won, which was surprising because it seemed way too easy. However, now it was time to return to Sky Wars. I had to get this win soon. The game started off fairly normal. Maybe this could be the game that I win. You never know. After looting up some more and getting geared, I was quickly approached by a player who thought that they could fight me. Did I win? Let's see. I had gotten a kill. Finally! Maybe this actually was the round that I win. And now I finally had full diamond armor. This was it. 3 players remained, and I spotted one close to the edge. I knew what I had to do. He was gone. It was now a 1v1. One win for me, and this was over. I saw the remaining player at his base. He was seemingly scared of me, so I decided to quickly make my way over and end this here and now. I saw him begin to tower up, and I immediately knew what I had to do. I quickly looped around the side of the building and started throwing snowballs. One of my snowballs hit him. He fell down, and I won.
I did it! Yes! Finally!
Finally, I was done with Sky Wars. Now it was time for... Ground Wars? Wait, what the heck's Ground Wars? As you can see going into this, I had not played a single game of this, and I had no clue what it was about. After a little bit, I finally understood how to play the game, and I found it really fun. Sure, this was my first time playing, so I obviously wasn't very good at it, but I seriously see this as one of the more underrated games on the Hive. Like, I feel like people should play this more. Oh, and look at these right here. They're so satisfying. I love this so much. And look at this shot right here. Holy cow, I was having a blast during this game. This was crazy. Look at this. I accidentally hit that dude from so far away. I was loving this. However, after one of my deaths, I spotted something really strange. Each other at the same time, that's fun. What the heck? There was another me. I quickly ran up to it to see what was going on. However, it killed me. There was an imposter on our team that was disguising as me. Luckily, my teammates made quick work of them. After some more fighting, me and my teammates had officially won. Ground Wars is officially one of my favorite games on the Hive now. And now, only one game remains. Bed Wars. Bed Wars was easily the biggest game on the Hive, and I was quite scared because I have never played it before. All I knew is that this game had sweats, so I was not prepared for this whatsoever, and I knew that this was going to take a long time. And when I first spawned in, I knew I was screwed. I didn't know what any of this stuff was. I began experimenting around, seeing what I could and couldn't do. However, Bed Wars was clearly not beginner friendly. However, there was one thing I knew about Bed Wars, and that was this right here, the structure to protect your bed, which is what I knew I needed to do immediately. However, I was clearly not good at it. I bridged out to get some diamonds. However, a player had already been there, and was now chasing after me. I knew that I would not survive this encounter. I obviously died, my bed was broken, and I died finally, and my first game was over. Didn't go so well. I will say, my second game was much better than my first, as I actually knew somewhat what I was doing this time. And as you can see, I managed to get the diamonds before the other player. As you can see, they were not happy about this. However, I managed to push them off, my first ever kill in Bed Wars. As I learned more and more about the game, I managed to get more defenses for my bed. Now it was going to be much harder to kill me. While buying some items, I noticed that the enemy player was coming over. I knew I had to do something quick, so I quickly ran over and tried to push them off. However, I didn't have a sword yet, and I ended up dying. For some reason, this player decided to kill me multiple times before ultimately breaking my bed. Why? I don't know. This game confuses me. This part isn't super important, but I like to mention it because I really like this part. I managed to push this guy off and he lost all of his stuff. That was deserved, like I was a jerk. It was funny because he came over again. However, it wasn't even me that hit him off. He just fell in a little hole that I made. Deserved. And then he came over another time. However, he almost killed me this time. Luckily, I managed to get him before he got me. Yeah, can this guy give it up already? This is getting annoying. However, he did not, and I somehow ended up dying because I wasn't in the play area? Sorry, I don't exactly know how this works. In the next game, I decided to try out a new strategy. Making friends with the enemy. Obviously, this probably wasn't allowed, but I was desperate at this point, and it didn't even work, so don't come after me, mods. Anyways, I died, so let's just go on to the next game. Let's not, because I ended up dying. Yeah, I'm not very good at this. And in the next games, while trying to become friends with this guy, there was someone behind me, and he broke my bed and killed me. Yeah, I didn't like it. However, this next game would be insane. Easily the craziest part of this video. Just wait and see, it gets insane. And like any other game, I spawned out on this new map that I had never played before. Hooray! However, one thing that I quickly noticed is that my neighbor was AFK. I didn't know how exactly I could use this to my benefit, so I just decided to leave him there. However, this did mean that I had all these diamonds for myself. How lucky. It was now the final 4, and I just realized where to get the emeralds, all on that huge island over there. However, I knew it would be dangerous, so I decided to check if my neighbor over here had any items that I could use. He obviously didn't, he was long gone, but I got some iron and gold out of it, so overall not bad. After realizing that I forgot to guard my bed, I decided to quickly do that. However, I got the notification that I was in the final 2. This could be it. Hopefully. After building this monstrosity of a fortress, I knew that I needed emeralds if I wanted to win this, so I quickly decided to bridge out and get those, but I had to be careful. After retrieving the emeralds, I decided to run back to my base to purchase some stuff. However, the other enemy had easily seen me, and somehow hit this shot. I'm still astounded as to how they did that. Either way, now I knew it was over. The enemy had seen me, and if they can hit a shot like that, they would have no problem taking down my fortress. After going to receive more diamonds, I spotted my enemy for the very first time. He was already shooting arrows at me and had a full diamond suit of armor. I knew that it was over for me once he hit this shot. Seriously, how do people hit those? However, this was strange. He didn't come over to break my bed. He very much could have, I had nothing. What was he up to? Either way, even though it seemed hopeless, I knew I had to try to beat him. So I quickly began gathering diamonds in an act to hopefully get me more stuff. Yeah, this was pretty much hopeless. However, it didn't take long for him to notice, and while I was trying to be friendly with him, he began shooting at me. I decided to try to run back to my base, which obviously he didn't want me to do, as he hit me off. And yet again, he didn't come over and break my bed. Again, I don't know a ton about Bed Wars, or if this is some strategy or not, but can someone explain in the comments, because I have no clue. In an act of desperation, knowing that this was impossible to win, I decided to try to guilt trip him in the chat. Maybe, hopefully, he would let me win? You never know. Wow. Okay. After this, I knew I had to beat him in this game. Even though what he said was true, I don't know, he's not supposed to agree with me. After some more looting up, I decided to make my bridge 2 blocks wide, after he hit me off like 3 times. However, he clearly didn't want me to do this. I saw him running over, and I thought that it was time for him to break my bed and end my game. However, he just broke my bridge. I don't know what to think about this. He ended up coming over here, and I was sure he was gonna break my bed. But no. All he did was take some of my stuff and buy stuff from the shop. Sure, he killed me a few times, but he never broke my bed. It was at this point in which I felt hopeless. He wasn't trying to kill me, he was simply just trying to mess with me, and he finished breaking my bridge. It was at this point I felt like a guinea pig, where he was confining me to one area, where he knew I could do nothing to defend against him. He was simply keeping me alive for his amusement, which I was not a fan of. But I couldn't do anything about it. Was I destined to lose this game? No, it couldn't be. It said 5 minutes until sudden death. Something has to happen. I have to win this. I had no clue what the sudden death meant for me. Was it like the survival game sudden death, where it was just a fight to the death? Hopefully not, because for sure I would lose. Not knowing anything about the sudden death, I made a quick decision to get some emeralds for some better loot. However, my enemy was not a fan of this, and he quickly shot me off my bridge to my death, making sure I didn't get any emeralds. I felt completely hopeless. There was no way I could win this. It was simply impossible. I wondered if this challenge was even worth it. I didn't even think it could be completed because of my skills. Seriously, me against him? Have you seen him? This was simply hopeless. There was no way I'd be able to win a game of Bed Wars. So this entire challenge was hopeless. There was no way I'd be able to win. He came over for some more cheap kills on me, and I simply let him do so. However, I quickly stored my iron sword into an ender chest, so at least I would have that. I felt so weak in this situation. There was nothing I could do against him. Like, literally nothing. Right? Right? I decided to go and make my bridge 2 blocks wide again. What was he gonna do? Punch me off? Wasn't like I hadn't seen that before. However, I had some sort of plan this time. It probably wasn't gonna get me the win, but it would at least give me the satisfaction of being able to kill him once. That's right, I had a plan, and it could work. All it required was a little bit of emeralds. After getting the needed emeralds, I booked it back to my base. However, he was quickly right behind me, and he tried to shoot me off again. However, I had outthought him. I had made my bridge 2 blocks wide. I could see that he was running over, and I placed my emeralds into my ender chest, knowing I couldn't beat him now. Of course, my goods ended up being secured. My plan could go through, and he would have no idea. Of course, he stayed a bit to have his fun killing me. Of course he would. He would do this. However, he would hopefully get the karma coming soon. He taunted me for so long that it suddenly became sudden death, resulting in both of our beds being broken at the exact same time. However, this worked in my favor. Now, my plan could get me the win. I had quickly ran over and gotten some more emeralds, and now I could purchase the knockback dory. This was a key part in my plan, as obviously the knockback dory sends players flying away from you if hit. All I needed to do? Get him over here and hit him off my bridge with it. And right here he comes. However, he ender pearled over before I could get the chance. However, as he decided to head back, I tried it. I missed him like an idiot. That was my one chance. All of this taunting had made me mad. I wanted to win so badly, to wipe that smug little smirk off of his face. However, it seemed completely impossible now. There was no way I could win this. He was simply too that was anticlimactic. He quickly left due to embarrassment. However, it was already done. I had won. The challenge was over. However, one question was left unanswered. How did he die? I think I know how, so I'll try to explain it to you, but it's not going to be the craziest thing ever. As you can see in this clip right here, and from my observations, he loved to jump off of structures and ender pearl to where he wanted to go. My best guess is that he tried to do this, however he miscalculated his throw. However, I guess we'll never truly know. Now if you did, thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. I spent ages making it. I don't plan on this being the kind of content for my channel, just as a little Kickstarter video, to get my account going, you know? However, I do love the Hive, and I'd love to do more videos on it sometime. So please, if you could, leave your thoughts in the comments, because this is my first video after all. And again, thank you so much for watching, and leave your thoughts on what you'd want to see next, as I have a ton of videos in store that I think you will like. anyways, this is the end of the video. So, again, thank you for watching, and PAX Panda's out. See ya!